What's going on, everybody? So this podcast is brought to you by the 6th Annual Joining Forces Conference, and this is hosted by the Children's Advocacy Center of Hidalgo and Starr counties. You'll be able to join us September 2nd and 3rd at DHR Convention Center in Edinburgh, Texas. You can get tickets at cachidalgo.org/events. All right, without further ado, let's get to the podcast. All right, so welcome to the podcast. I have a very special guest. Lauren has been on my podcast before, but it was for a different type of thing in a different time, and it seems like we're in a whole new world now.
That podcast seems like it was 3 years ago.
It does, and I think it was almost one of the longest ones that I've ever had.
Oh, I don't know if I should feel bad or good about it.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So the reason why I wanted to get you on the podcast is obviously I'm part of the CAC. We're trying to push out a Child Abuse Awareness Month going through April. Let everybody know who you are, what you do, and how you got into this.
Okay. My name is Lauren Corzine. I am a country singer-songwriter. I have been doing what I do for the past 5 years. I stopped going to school just to pursue music, and it's been really great for me. About 5 years ago, I wrote a song called Lost and Found. And my friend Janet McGee, who is the founder of Blue Sunday Child Abuse Prevention, she took this song and it became their video. They turned it into a music video using clips from a movie called Removed. This video is what they use to help promote Blue Sunday. So on their website, they have this music video. This music video that they use my song Lost and Found is also played every day on, not every day, every Sunday, last Sunday of every April, which is Blue Sunday. Blue Sunday, National Day of Prayer, is the last Sunday of every April where the faith community and churches that register for this, we all pray together for children that are abused and the victims of child abuse and their rescuers. So foster families that come in and help these kids. That's a day that we reserve and observe and pray for those families.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting time right now. I feel like the world's changed like overnight. Everybody's jumping on social media. Everybody's jumping on Zoom. Everybody's jumped onto the internet, and it's a very interesting time because.
It is, and I really feel like everyone's very tense right now.
Yeah,
you can feel it when you go to the store. It's just, and it's just the strangest thing. I really feel like people are just tense and anxious and sad, and some people are peppy, but I feel like that's just the general mood of everybody right now.
Yeah, I think since everything is going, it's like everybody's indoors, nobody has anywhere to go, so these grocery stores and all that other stuff. But one of the things I wanted to touch on is that how actually child abuse goes up during these times of pandemics. And I didn't really realize it, but a lot of people still think that child abuse does not happen here in the Valley.
Yes. It does, and it's actually grown. I did a podcast, an interview with Janet McGee and Cornelia Garza, who is the faith organizer for CPS down here, is the Corpus Christi, and in Corpus Christi. And she was telling me, I think the average is 20,000 a year rescued or reported cases in the Valley. It's not something I think people are very comfortable talking about. I know that I don't like to hear that stuff. You don't want to hear that kids are being hurt, neglected, or they come from these homes where there's a lot of substance abuse. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody really wants to talk about it, but it's really important that we talk about it and know that, yes, it is happening, know what to look for and how to help them. And I also learned that it's not just parents. Sometimes it's the abusers can be grandparents. They can be aunts and uncles. They can even be a babysitter. Some people might have a babysitter come over and, they have a baby or a 3-year-old and they can't verbalize everything that's happening. So it comes in many shapes and forms, and it's really important to know what to look for. So that's something I didn't know when I started talking to Janet and we started using my song and I started talking to them more. I didn't know that it was 20,000 a year, reported cases.
Yeah. What was your inspiration for writing that song?
I was going through some personal stuff with myself. I was having a lot of body image issues. And at that time, I found this new love for music, and I was working with a lot of great people, and I still am. But at the time, I felt this new sense of peace because I really found my purpose and I didn't feel so self-conscious anymore. So that's why I wrote the song. But the really cool thing about writing music, it's a lot like putting a message in a bottle. You send it out, you write it for one reason, and somebody hears it, and can be used in a totally different way. And I never thought that this song could be used for that. So it's the biggest accomplishment I have as an artist, is knowing that this song is being used for something way bigger than myself. So
Yeah.
it's very rewarding.
When I had shared it with the CAC, with the director and a couple of other people, they fell in love with you like right away. They're like, we love Lauren. We got to get her on. We got to get her to do stuff for us. So obviously you made a huge impact on them.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I was really looking forward to the convention that was going to happen a couple of days ago, actually. It was supposed to happen this week. And but I know it's scheduled for October now, I think.
Yeah, we rescheduled it. Obviously, due to the coronavirus, everybody wants to be safe, especially at the CAC. And it's also another important talking point that the CAC still is open. They're still operating, and they're still doing it. They're still going, and they're obviously the abuse is going up right now. So they want to be able to stay virtually available and also physically available at the location. I want to dive into obviously child abuse, but obviously you come from a very religious background, correct?
I do. My dad's a pastor.
So I think
my grandfather's a pastor.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, the problem in the Rio Grande Valley is everything that we want to talk about is kind of taboo. It's not really accessible for a lot of people. So one of the goals of the CAC is to be able to make this less taboo. So obviously coming up from a religious upbringing, and obviously the Rio Grande Valley has like 1 million Catholics. It's a very interesting time where child abuse is running rampant. It's I don't know. It's very weird because when I grew up, I never talked about this stuff. My parents never really talked about these things. But when you get older,
I think when you grow up in a certain environment and you grow up in a good home with good parents, and that's subjective, but like me, you don't think about it. It didn't cross my mind until I was older.
We don't really think about that type of stuff when we're growing up, when we have a good household, obviously, right? But I mean, from what I understand, it could literally be your neighbor that's going through this whole thing. And there's a lot of outcries that people want to be able to do so. The CAC is obviously there to get those calls and all that stuff. But let's talk about Blue Sunday again. That's what I really love about this from a personal level, not anything to do with the CAC, but from a personal level, is that we're taking this child abuse and we're putting the faith together in it and the prayer part. And I really love that. So I kind of want you to touch a little bit more on the prayer part.
Well, I think the National Day of Prayer is something that my church has been doing for a long time. It's really great. It's great to take a day to observe and pray, but what I like is that Blue Sunday doesn't end there. Blue Sunday does a lot of services in the Valley. They started with doing a zoo trip with foster kids that, I'll try to explain this the best I can. When a family is taken out of their home, their siblings, if there's 4 or 5, a lot of times those siblings can't stay together with the same foster parent. They're split up. And it's really important that those kids get to see their siblings. That's very important to them. And Blue Sunday offered a service where she had a day where she took the kids to Gladys Porter Zoo, and the kids got to see their siblings. And I just thought that was That's so awesome. Beautiful. And started with that. Then she did Christmas parties, and she raises money for teen foster kids that are often kind of we don't really think about them as much as little kids and babies, And a lot of people, when they go into adopt children, they go for a baby. And teens are sometimes kind of left behind. So she raises money for them during Christmas. She does a big graduation party for foster teens. So she's been able to do a lot of stuff. But it did start with National Day of Prayer. And yes, prayer is very important. But what I want to emphasize is that it doesn't just end after April. April will be over, but abuse still goes on. It still happens. And there's kids still fighting through a lot. But yes, Janet's been able to connect the faith-based community with, CPS and people that work for the government, which is really great. But yes, as prayer is important, but also providing services is just as important.
Lauren, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I know we kind of diverged over some other topics, but
you and I always do. I think it's my fault because I have a hard time staying on topic, but that's how the conversation's authentic, right? It's Definitely. Not scripted.
Awesome. Right? Well, Lauren, we'll talk to you soon, and stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe too, Josh. I'll see you soon.
Bye. This podcast is brought to you by the 6th Annual Joining Forces Conference, and this is hosted by the Children's Advocacy Center of Hidalgo and Starr Counties. You'll be able to join us September 2nd and 3rd at DHR Convention Center in Edinburgh, Texas. You can get tickets at cachidalgo.org/events.